Hey guys, today we are making a different video because that won't be part of any of the series yet. And that will be a kind of standalone tutorial for those who come on the channel for this kind of video because I have a lot of people coming here for the clickers. So that's what we're going to do today. So since this is not going to be part of a series, we will only focus on how to make a clicker, but more specifically how to implement it in a game after that. So even though I say in the title that it's intermediate level, I will still do the beginner introduction to it to make sure that we are all on the same page. And then we will have an intermediate implementation later on. So use the chapters, you know how this works. So here we have a blank project on Godot. It's just a regular project with forward plus. So what we're gonna do to create a clicker basically is to use green nodes, user interface nodes or control nodes. So right there, we will begin by creating a prototype. So the clicker prototype, let's name it clicker prototype. Here we will just have a clicker that will work alone, right? So it's not going to be communicating with anything. It's just going to be a simple clicker. So in order to have a simple clicker, it just takes two nodes really. That's the minimum you need. And the minimum nodes you need are a label and a button. As for the positioning, the label, we will choose the anchor preset so that it's a top wide label. And the button, we will position it in the middle center. As for the sizing, the label, well, actually we don't need to size it that much, but we can still give it 80 pixel height. That's usually fine. And we can as well go in the theme right there in the theme variation and choose header large. So from there, we can change the alignments to center and have this thing. So we will have clicks and the number of clicks. The button actually needs sizing as well. So we're going to go in the layout and we're going to go with 320 and 80 pixels. That's my regular size. And that's going to be click me button. Not just going to click me or click. All right, so that's the most basic layout you can do for a clicker. You need somewhere to keep the data and you need something to click on. From this point, let's save this scene. So let's make it like we have a usual project organizing and structure. So let's create a scenes folder and a clicker prototype folder where I will be able to save the scene. What we're going to do is create the first script. So here we're just going to create a script in the clicker prototype, and that will actually be a built-in script. Will it? Well, actually not. Let's have a regular script. This will be the clicker prototype type, right? Script. So class name to give it, well, a name. And then we need to reference two things. The first thing we need to reference is the label so that we can change the value of the label every time we click. And the second thing we need to reference is the button. We can use the editor to have this a little bit easier on us. So we're going to use the editor. As for the label, we will use the export tag so that the variable label is, I want to say, assigned in the editor, right? So right now, if you choose the clicker prototype with the script, in the inspector on the right, you can see that we have a new property here, which we will want to assign the label to. This is how you basically get things with the editor. As for the button, the editor, again, is giving us some very handy things, right? So we don't have to export variable button, blah, 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 because here we can directly access the only thing in the button that we need, and it is the node pressed signals. So if you don't know what signals are, I suggest you to find videos on that. If I ever make one, that will be right there. Well, whatever. And so yeah, what we will do is grab this pressed signal and right click and connect to the script right there, so that it creates a method and we don't need to go with creating a variable and creating a signal connection. That's done through the editor. So right there we have our two connections to the two nodes here. But it's not enough. We still need a place to store the actual value of the clicks, right? So we need to keep track of how many clicks have been done in the game, okay? So we will, for this matter, create a variable which we will name at the moment clicks. And that's going to be an integer that I will initialize to 0. So right there, the script is getting a little bit more fleshed out. And what we have is basically a function, which is called every time we click on the button, the amount of clicks, and the label we want to change. So now we just need to create a few methods that will, you know, make all this work together. So as for this method here, which is onButtonPressed, I'm actually going to create another method because I don't want the logic to be in there, right? This is basically just saying I'm being called when the button's pressed, right? So I don't want it to do different things than being, what should I do when the button's pressed? So what I'm going to do is create a new function, 1, 2, 3, which is going to be increase clicks like this. And increase clicks will be very simple. We will just add 1 to the current value of clicks right there. So now that we have this method which does increase the clicks, we can call it once we click on the button. All right. This is for the button. Now the label. We need to connect this clicks value to the label right there. So the way we will do this is by creating a update label method, which will update the label based on the current amount of clicks we own. So what we're going to do is access a property of the label, which is the text property. So we grab the label property and then find text within it. Right there, we want to change the value to be able to clicks, and we will add a variable parameter, which is going to be clicks. I'm using this little percent syntax because it's very handy. Now we have a method that updates the label, and we actually need to call it sometimes. So when we want to change the label basically is whenever the clicks are being assigned a new value. So every time the clicks value changes, we want to update the label. But also, we want to update the label when the clicks are initialized to 0, or when, let's imagine that they're loaded and the player had 12 clicks, the player closes the game, opens the game again, and they want the 12 clicks back. So what we're going to do is use the built-in ready function, which comes with every node, so that when the game is started, we can, well, when the node is created, we can update the label like this. So right now we have everything ready to have this little clicker work. So we can start the game and click on the button so that it generates clicks. This really is the beginner way of making a clicker. But if you want to have a more complex clicker, that's when we will have actually to create a few more things. Because what we want is this clicker right there to be able to communicate with other objects in the game and that it makes sense, right? You want to have data, you want to have upgrades, you want to have mini games, you want to have things, right? Because right there, the resource is clicks, but what if the resource which is generated by the clicks can be generated by something else, right? So we will see how we do this. And we will begin by getting this variable here out of this prototype and to have it in a, I want to say, its own data object so that we can reach it from anywhere in the game, right? So that all the features can also create this resource. So what we're going to do is create a scripts folder. And in this script folder, I will just create a new script, which is going to be data. I will edit the script, give it class name data, like this. And I will, let's not extend anything because that's not related to this tutorial. But here, all we need to do really is just have the variable, which we will name, let's name it goal from now. And goal is going to be an int initialized to 0. There, of course, there's pretty much nothing in this data object, but let's imagine that there's a lot much more data in the game, right? And actually we will add things in there. Now we need a node that will be responsible for handling the data. So that node will be our game node, like kind of the master node of the tree. So I will create a new one, which is going to be a gray node, just a regular node with nothing. And I will name it game. I will save it in its game folder, and I will directly attach a script to it. So what I'm going to do is create a singleton pattern. I think I should make a video on that because I make singletons the way you would make those in Unity and any other programming language really. Why many people use autoloads on Godot. I don't like autoloads and I will explain this in a video later on. But at the moment, let's just make a singleton so that we can access this node from anywhere in the game. And that's very important. So here is the pattern. You create a static variable, which is going to be the reference of the game class, which we just created right there. Now that we have a static reference, we want to create a function, which is going to be the entity function. And right there, we want to make a check to see if there is already a game node existing. If there's already a game node existing, we want to destroy the node and stop everything. But if there's not a reference, there's not a game node already, we want to be the main game node of the game. So we want reference to be equal to self. So yeah, that requires its own video. But yeah, if you don't know what static variables are as well, that will be too complicated to explain it right there. But basically, they are semi-global variables, which is why we can reach this class from anywhere, or this instance of the class from anywhere, because it's semi-global. Now that we have our singleton ready, we actually need to create an instance of the data with the gold in there. So in my game, I will create my variable data, and I just need to create a new one. So right now, I'm just going to go with data, new data. Obviously, this is where you will have all the kind of things like saving and loadings. That's in the script, but we don't have any. So we're just going to have data equal data.new. Now that we have this, we can go back to the clicker prototype. And right there, we can get rid of this little variable clicks here. And instead of having clicks, we're going to have a game.ref, which is this variable that we created there. We access semi-global variables by calling the class name and then the semi-global. It's not global because if it was, you would just be calling on ref. But here, since it's just semi-global, you need to call the class name first. So we call on the game.ref. And once we are in this variable here, basically everything that's in the script is contained within this little ref here, which is what we do when we do ref equals self. So right there, we have data now, right? So we just want data.gold to be plus equal 1. And here, we're just going to do the same, change clicks with game.ref.data.gold. All right. There's this thing we need to change now, because this little scene right there is now unable to work on its own. If we run the scene, it's going to have a problem because it's going to be like, oh, what's game.ref.data? I don't know game. So now we need to actually go back in game right there and make the prototype a child of this node, like this. And we need to run the game created there, this one. So now we do have the clicks, and well, actually it says clicks, but let's change this to go real quick. It's gonna be go right there. So now we can click to generate gold. And the important thing that we did is that we actually moved the goal into the data object of the game so that everything can change it, right? So that's the big step here. The next big step that we're gonna do is, again, we will take something out of this prototype so it is in its own class, and so that it allows us to have more flexibility when we want to, I want to say, work with clicks somehow. The idea is, think about cookie clicker, for example. You have you can click on the cookie to generate click cookies. And then you have the little cursors which are around the cookie, which are going to click, click, click. Well, we do want to make sure that the cursors and the clicks on the cookies are the same thing. So this is basically what we're going to do with the manager. So what we're going to do now is create a manager that will generate gold and manage the clicks, basically. So let's create this. Let's create another new scene. Again, that's going to be a gray node because it's just going to be a script, really. The reason why we make this script a node and not just a class, right, is because we do want to access signals. Signals are a very, very, very powerful tool that you can use in Godot. And yeah, we do want to have those. So here I'm going to create a new node, which is going to be click manager. In fact, I will name it manager click because we don't have namespaces in GDScript. So we can simulate namespaces by having keywords at the beginning of your class. Here, the keyword is manager. So I'm going to create this. So here, we're going to create, so the manager, click, well, the click manager, right. So we want to save it in the, let's create a managers folder. In here, we will have manager click, or click manager. We don't care if it is in the right order here. So we save this, and again, we want to create a script here. And just like we did for the game node, the click manager needs to be accessible from anywhere in the game. So what we're going to do is, again, we will create a singleton. So here we will have manager click. We will have the static variable, which is going to be the reference to manager click. And we're going to have the entry method that will check if there's a ref. If there's no ref, we want to Q3 and return. And if there's, well, if there's a ref, I think I did say the mistake. But anyway, if there's a ref, you want to destroy the object. And if there's not, you want to assign yourself to the reference. So now that we have a singleton, what do we do with this manager? Well, we create methods that will do things for us. Here, for example, we will create the click method. So this will basically, oh, I see ghosts. This will basically simulate a click, right? And that may seem weird to have this in a manager instead of in the component right there, which is with the button and all. But the idea is that you actually kind of want this script to be the logic, which will manages all the mathematics, calculation, resource handlings, etc., etc. And you want this scene right there to be more the visual part, the visual thing, right? So think of this manager click as the brain and this click prototype as the body somehow. So what we're going to do is that when we create a click, the first thing we want to do is have game.ref.data.gold plus equal 1, right? And there's going to be a problem that you will see very soon. But that's not the problem that we'll fix, of course. So right there, this increase clicks things, we don't want this. We don't want the body to think about how many things should be created in resources, etc., etc. Instead, we're gonna ask manager click to use the click method. So now we created the manager, the click manager. And what we want to do is to actually add it to the game. So let's just create, well, let's just, oh, really? Okay, I'm gonna say from now on that I don't care about the lighting anymore. Or I will just turn this light on. Oh no, it's gonna create a shadow behind me. Anyway. We need to add this manager right there to the game. So yeah, we just need to drag and drop it like this. So of course we can, organize things a little bit by doing things like adding a node which is saying managers. Well, at the moment we only have one, but we will have more. So maybe we can have things like this. And you know that gray things are pretty much scripts and green things are the user interface. So anyway, now we should be able to run this and increase the goal by clicking. Why, if you really look into it, now our clicker isn't controlling how much things are happening. And what we can do, I guess, is basically have this manage clicker thing be directly there, right? So we can get rid of this method. So that when we click on the button, we just want this manager click to trigger a click. But there's going to be the problem that when do we update the label, right? Because right now, well, I launch and started wrong game, but right now, if we click, we actually do create goal, but we don't know we create goal because the label doesn't know when to update things. So for this, what we're going to do is forget this manager clicker for a while and instead create a new one, which is going to be a gold manager. So again, we're going to create a new node and this thing will be manager gold. I'm going to save it in its gold manager. So I know it's a little bit confusing to have manager gold and gold manager, but I think if you, I don't want to say, please stick to it, but if you use it, maybe at some point you will understand that it's just the class name that needs to be with the manager at the front, I guess. Well, anyway, you do how you wish, really. So we're going to create a manager gold. And in there, again, I'm just going to copy paste this so it's going to be quicker. We create a script in manager gold and we have this little thing like this. We have a manager gold singleton. And this guy will be responsible for creating, destructing gold, basically. So how this works. It doesn't, and that's important, it doesn't need to, now I have the shadow behind me that creates weird thing in the video, so I have to turn on the second light. The manager doesn't hold the actual data of how much gold it has. It can, virtually it can. But at the moment it's in the data object and we want to leave it in the data object, but well, let's actually make the gold thing do it. So data will be useless from now on, but at least you know how to make a data object now. So here we will have the gold variable, which is again going to be initialized to 0. We're going to have a function which is going to be, you know, create gold, and it will take an argument this time, and that will be quantity, because we need to know how much gold we are creating. So we're creating a certain quantity of gold. Let's not make a destroy gold at the moment, but let's have a function. Well, if we want to use getter and setters for gold, we can eventually think about this idea of having a method which is get gold, right? So that we return gold. Right here, when we create gold, we want to create gold plus equal quantity. But the real reason why we make a manager for the resources is because we want to centralize signals that will be basically tied. Do we say tied? To the generation and the deletion and basically any modification happening to gold. So we're going to create a new signal, which is going to be gold created with the quantity. Do we actually want to? No, let's not go too complicated. So here we have a signal gold created. Well, actually, yes, let's give it an argument, which is going to be the quantity of gold that was created. So now the idea is that whenever we create gold, we want to emit this signal, gold created. We want to emit it with the quantity, so that other nodes in the game can now pick up on this signal that we created there, so that they know that goal has been created. And that is very important for the label, because the label basically doesn't know when to update. So this is why this kind of signal is going to be very handy. So let's save this, add the manager to our game like this, and go back in our clicker prototype and get rid of this basically, so that now we can, just create a built-in script for the label, right? So we go on the label, we create a script which is going to be built in. So basically a built-in script is a script that is contained within a scene object instead of creating a new file. Maybe it's clearer this way. Because if you look on the file manager behind my head, as you can see, every time I create a script, we have the script appearing with the little cog. But right there, I don't necessarily need the script to be in a separate file, so I just have it, built in. So that's going to be gold label. So here is the extends label go label thing. So what we're going to do basically is recreate the update text method, which is going to take this little text. This time we don't need to say label.text because we are in the label. So text is a property of this script. It is a property of this extension. A little tricky there. So here we want to say that gold is equal to percent manager gold dot ref dot get gold. And what we want to do is basically create a new method, which is going to be on gold created. And this method will be connected to the signal that say, hey, gold has been created. So how do we do this, basically? Let's add the update text instruction. The way we do this is by using the following instruction. So I'm going to put it in the ready method, right? So that when the label is created, we're going to say, all right, I'm going to connect to the signal, and then let's wait and see. So you need to find the signal, right? So to find the signal, we will use the singleton we created to have this gold created signal here. There, we will connect it to onGold created, and we need to remove the parenthesis right there. Yeah, this signal has a quantity argument, so we need to take in this quantity argument in the method that receives the signal. So this is why sometimes it's quite handy to have these methods which just receive the signal and send you somewhere else in the script, because yeah, that's kind of a buffer that takes in the argument, say, yep, don't want it. Okay. Also, let's remember that we need to update the text when we create the node. That's important. Right there. So now, if we start the game with everything, it doesn't work because, oh, okay, we actually didn't connect the manager click to the manager goal. So now when we click on this thing, we want, manager goal dot ref dot create goal, and we need to assign the quantity to 1, right? So now we can start the game and click to generate goal. And here, things are starting to fall into place, because right there in manager click, we can now begin to create calculations that will modify the actual value, or the actual value of gold that we create when we click. So let's go back to this data object, okay? And this video is really focusing on clickers, right? So I'm not going to show you exactly how to make upgrades because it takes a long time. So what we're going to do is we will instead simulate having upgrades doing things. So we're going to simulate having levels of different upgrades in the data so that we can work with those. So here we will have click power 01 level, and that's going to be an int. And let's say we have a level 10, let's be 12. We will have clicker. Oh, sorry, I wanted click power, not clicker. We want click power 02 level, and this one will be, let's say, level 4. Then we will have click multiplier, and that's going to be the first one as well, and that will be level, oh, there's a space, and this one will be level 1. Okay. Oh, forgot the equal. So here we simulated a few upgrade levels. So now we can go in our manager, click here. Really, there are different ways to do it. There's no one way. So you can make all the calculations in there. You can make the calculations whenever you wish. But maybe we can go with this idea of calculate click power method. So I have a method that calculates the click power now. So what this does mean is I do need a variable click power somewhere, which is going to be there. And it's going to be an int. It's going to be an int that will basically be used by this click method to know how much gold must be created. So let's create a power variable, which is going to be new power equal, it's going to be an int, sorry, equal to 1. So that we have a base power of 1. Then we want new power to be increased by 1 for each game.ref.data.clickPower01 level. Maybe I can show you something quite cool. We can reference the data object once so that we don't need to reference it all the time. What we can do is have the onReady variable data, which is going to be to game.ref.data, like this. You can add this line. It's actually one line, right? Because this is the same. But you can add this line so that you can do this, basically. You can get rid of the game ref everywhere in the script. That's a little bit cool sometimes. Because sometimes they're like this. Anyway, we want to increase the power by 1 for each level in the first one. Then we want to increase the power by 5 for each level in click power 02. And we want new power, yes, to be multiplied by 1 plus the actual level of the multiplier. So 1 level equals 2, 2 level equals 3, etc., etc. So here it's going to be data.click multiplier, blah, 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 blah. And there we have. And now that we have new power, we can go with click power equal new power like this. And just to make things fancy, because we're rich and can expand resources as we wish, we're going to create a signal which is click power updated. Ta-da! So that, well, I don't know, maybe if there's a label somewhere that's displaying the click power, then it knows, oh, I need to update. So yeah, click power equal new power and click power updated. Dot emit. Ooh. Forgot that. So anyway. So this should basically be called when, not called, but you know, you get what I mean. The accent is a little bit, anyway. Usually there's the kind of thing that's triggered when a level is an upgrade, sorry, is leveling up, that kind of things. But right there, we're just gonna have it being calculated at the start because again, we don't have any upgrades. But let's have this ready method at first. We will calculate click power right off the bat. And let's say that maybe you want to have a method. You would have things like, well, let's not do it, but you could have those on upgrade leveling up and signal, upgrade leveled up. You would connect this just like really it would look like this, right? You would have a method on upgrade leveling up, and you would have the manager upgrade.ref. You got the drill. So yeah, I was in the clicker here. So right now, we should actually be able to generate a lot more gold. I actually, again, started the wrong scene because we need to start the game scene. And there, well, we generate 66 gold every click. So we have big clicks. Oh, that sounded... Oh, God. I'm gonna fix the lightning. Right, it should be less yellowish and more ghosty. So yeah, maybe we can just clean this thing up a little bit by just detaching the script here, deleting this connection, and instead create a built-in script for the button here, which is going to be attach script built-in, and that will be button. And there, in this script, we will get its own signal. Pressed, connect to button, unpressed, and right there, we want to have manager click dot ref dot click. All right. So that now every node and every script is responsible for themselves, right? They are all, I want to say, independent and responsible. So this way, when we change something somewhere, it's cool because others aren't directly impacted. You can even, just for fun, just to say, hey, we did something a little, we can create a label somewhere, which is going to be label, which is going to be on the top left corner. Let's go with top left corner. And that label, which is label 2, will have its own script. It will be named click power label. And right there, it will have the update text as usual. We'll get the void. Then you will have the on click power updated. I think there was no argument here, so we're safe. So you want to update the text. And here the text is going to say click power is click power. Manager click dot ref dot click power. Forgot the percent. Click power, like this. You will have the function ready that will update the text and find the signal. Click power updated. You want to connect this to on-click power updated, remove the parenthesis, save, and you can start the game right there. And now you have click power equals 66. I know what we're gonna add. Okay, this is gonna be cool. We will actually add a texture instead of a irregular button. You know, we want a cookie that squiggles. But I don't have cookies, so I will use the assets I have from my Poke Clicker series. So what we're gonna do is go in this clicker here, and the button, we will change the type to a texture button, like this. So now, yeah, it destroyed the signal. Okay, I guess. And there's a little problem, which is we extend button, but we want to extend texture button. Now, is it texture button? I think it is. Yes. We extend texture button. So we just need to connect the signal again, like this. Yes. But the button's gone. So how do we work with that? First, we will reinitialize the settings here, and we need to import a texture. So I will just grab a texture that I will put in an asset folder right there. So let's create a new folder. It's going to be assets, and it's going to be very cool color, yellow. Oh, there's already a yellow one. Rearrange. Actually, I don't like it. Green. So just let me grab a texture for this button. Okay, so I took the first image I had in my repository, which is this aroma lady I used for a thumbnail a long time ago. So we're gonna click this poor little trainer. So when you have your button right there, you wanna get the texture, and you can have different textures for every, every state. But here, let's just load. Well, actually, we're gonna quick load. I think it's better. Quick load. Yes, assets aroma lady. There she is. Isn't she cute? So we're gonna click her to get gold, basically. Oh, again, I started the wrong one. So now I should be able to click her, and yep, that generates gold. But it's a little bit static. So maybe, just maybe, we can go in the script of this button here and create a new function which I will name twinning. So you see there's this thing in Godot which is twins with two E, not an I. And twins are basically things which help things which help for animation, but very simple animation. And here we will use it to basically have the texture squiggles a little bit. So really it takes a full tutorial on using Tweens, and I'm still very noob in this area, so we're not going to do very much with it. But anyway, what we're going to do is first and foremost, there's a little anchor right there at the top, and it is the pivot offset. And it is important to know how to work things like scale and rotation. So what we need to do basically is to have this pivot to be centered at the center of the texture. So the way we will do this is by having this thing like when we're on ready, that's a lot of hesitation. What I'm gonna do basically is reposition pivot offset. I will reposition this, and what I'm gonna do is simply have pivot offset to be equal to size divided by 2. I have this 2.0 thing because I want the division to be float and not integer. So I just specify that I want floats. So first thing first, when I'm ready, I want to reposition the pivot offset. So the tween property, yep. We want to change something. We want to change a property of the object. So here it is the texture button. And we want to go from somewhere to somewhere else. So the object is going to be self, because that's the button editing the button. And then we want to know which property you want to change. And it's going to be the scale. We're going to change the scale of the button. And we want the scale to be a new vector, which is going to be 1.05 and 1.05. So I want x and y to be a little bit bigger. Then I need to specify a duration. So it's going to be 1.0, let's go with 0.5. And I think I can specify something more. No, that's not. So we have this. So basically now if I start the game and click on the sprite, it will grow bigger. Or not. It will not. Because I actually didn't connect the tweening method to this, which is bad. So let's assign it right now. And now the sprite will grow bigger when I click on it. But it will just grow bigger to reach that 1.05, right? So it doesn't scale forever. But now what we can do is scale it back, right? So we're just gonna add a new property, like this. Again, self, we will change the scale, and we will change vector 2 so that it's 1, 1. And we want this to be 0, 0.05 again. So when I click, keep starting the wrong scene. When I click on the sprite, you know this little wing, 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 and that's it. Well, basically the idea is that you can very much play with those kind of things because you can add those to everything. You can add this to the label here so that when you click, the text is actually getting the same process. So maybe we can just, go there, grab this, the label. So for the label here, what we're going to do is add the tweening methods. And when we update the text, what we want to do is reposition the pivot center because, changing the text can, oh, well, actually, it won't. It won't because this label is, it's sticking and it has a white height. But anyway, if your label is working differently than this one, you might actually want the repositioning to be happening when you update the text because it might change the label. But not right here. Here we reposition the pivot offsets, and when we update the text, we want tweening to happen. So that maybe now, if we generate gold, we have the text bubbling as well. Oh, that's actually quite cool. So yeah, that's tweening for you. I really suggest that you go check more videos on that. I don't have any at the moment, but maybe I will do later, happening on the top, if there is. So yeah, I really hope you like this video about how to make clickers in a more intermediate way, because I noticed that my clicker videos are very popular, and well, I actually wanted to make a better one, I guess. A more straight to the point and not a I'm making a series. But anyway, hope you liked it. And well, maybe I see you later on this channel. I don't know. Anyway, you take care and I'm out.